All right, let's dive right into this explainer, breaking down what is undoubtedly the most controversial, match-defining moment of the 2026 World Cup quarterfinals between Argentina and Switzerland. If you were watching this game live, you already know the atmosphere was absolutely electric. We had the ultimate clash of styles, right? The defending world champions trying to weave their attacking magic against this meticulously drilled, incredibly resilient underdog. It had extra time heroics, tactical masterclasses, and of course, a deeply polarizing refereeing decision that has literally the entire football world talking. So today we're going to break down exactly what happened, the slightly obscure rule that triggered all this chaos, and exactly why Switzerland felt their perfect tactical game plan was essentially stolen by a technicality. To really understand why Switzerland is so completely furious over their exit, we have to take an objective look at a highly debated 72nd-minute call that completely shifted the ground under their feet. Picture this. The score is deadlocked at 1-1, and the momentum has completely swung. Switzerland had just equalized through Dan and Doy. The crowd is roaring, the Swiss are absorbing pressure beautifully, and on the counterattack, they're looking so incredibly dangerous. A giant killing genuinely felt possible. And then, a single whistle blows, and it's like a vacuum just sucked all the sound right out of the stadium. In a matter of seconds, the match pivoted from a thrilling display of underdog football into a procedural nightmare that altered the trajectory of the whole tournament. You could literally feel the raw frustration radiating from the Swiss camp immediately after their extra-time defeat. Head coach Murat Yakin absolutely did not mince words in his post-match press conference. He said, "It's completely not understandable. I know that they will protect their referee, but this rule destroyed the game today." See, he wasn't just upset about losing a tough football match, he was fundamentally questioning the application of a rule that he felt had zero place in the sport at that exact moment. For him, the core of this anger wasn't just about a bad call, it was the feeling that an incredible, hard-fought tactical masterpiece was derailed by an overly clinical intervention from the video booth. To really get why he was so mad, we need to look at the mechanics of the call itself. Section 1. Anatomy of the Red, the 72nd-minute incident. Let's trace the exact sequence of events that unfolded on the pitch, with the match gridlocked at 1-1. So here is exactly how this rapid reversal played out, and it was all triggered by video assistant Guillermo Pacheco Larios. Initially, Portuguese referee João Pinheiro thought Argentina's Leandro Paredes committed a foul on Swiss striker Breel Embolo. Pinheiro blows the whistle, confidently shows Paredes a yellow card, and that seems to be that. But then comes that agonizing wait. VAR buzzes into the referee's ear. We've all seen it. The ref holds his finger to his earpiece, jogs over to the pitch-side monitor, and the whole stadium just holds its breath. After reviewing the footage, the referee completely flips his initial decision. He judges that Embolo actually simulated the contact. He dived. And because Embolo was already sitting on a yellow card, this double reversal meant his first caution was compounded by a second. Boom. A red card that instantly reduces Switzerland to 10 men. As you'd expect, the Swiss players felt this intervention was a total disaster, and it really highlights a massive growing debate over technology's role in the natural flow of the match. Midfielder Remo Freuler perfectly captured the sentiment of football purists everywhere when he basically asked, why VAR is getting involved here at all, saying, just let the referee do his thing, you know? The big argument here is that VAR was originally sold to us as a tool to fix glaring objective errors, like a player being 2 yards offside. Re-refereeing highly subjective, nuanced physical contact in real time feels to a lot of players like a betrayal of the sport's natural rhythm. But here's the kicker. While the Swiss felt robbed by a subjective review, the officials in the booth were actually following a very specific, newly updated directive. Which brings us to Section 2, the IFAB rule explained, defining mistaken identity. The crucial point here is understanding the clinical, down-to-the-letter rulebook application that led to this. A lot of fans were asking, wait, why was VAR even allowed to intervene on a yellow card offense? Well, under the expanded 2026 tournament rules, VAR is explicitly permitted to intervene to punish an opposing player's dive under a very specific clause. Historically, mistaken identity was super simple. It meant the referee accidentally booked the wrong guy in a crowded penalty box. But IFAB quietly expanded this definition for 2026. Now, if a ref books player A for a foul, but the video clearly shows player B actually simulated to deceive the ref, VAR can step in to correct that specific mistaken identity between the fouler and the diver. The penalty shifts from the defender straight to the attacker. Now, while the Swiss camp felt a deep, deep sense of injustice, FIFA maintains they are simply applying the new guidelines consistently. And to be fair, there is precedent. This exact same mechanism was used to overturn a call involving U.S. defender Tim Ream and Paraguay's Miguel Almiron in the group stages. However, what makes this quarterfinal moment so shocking is just how incredibly rare a double jeopardy simulation call is at this level. I mean, it almost never happens in a knockout game, which is exactly why the Swiss were utterly blindsided. The rulebook was followed to the letter, for sure, but as we all know, football isn't played on paper. So, moving on to Section 3, the tactical domino effect. Why the red card mattered so much. Let's step away from the rulebook and look at the actual match data to see why losing Brielle Mbolo was such a catastrophic tactical blow. Looking at the underlying numbers, expected goals, which basically measures the quality of a team's scoring chances, shows Switzerland's overall volume was incredibly low, hovering at just 0.53 base XG. But their execution? It was incredibly sharp. They actually matched Argentina with 5 shots on target during regular play, constantly forcing Argentina's keeper Emiliano Martinez to stay on his toes. You have to understand, Mbolo wasn't just a striker for them. He was the vital pressure release valve for the entire team. He held the ball up, he won fouls, and he let his defenders breathe. Once he was sent off in tears, that valve was completely gone. The finely tuned Swiss watch mechanism lost its mainspring, and they were forced into absorbing relentless, unopposed pressure. And this brilliantly illustrates just how impenetrable that Swiss defensive block was centrally. Look at the sheer volume of shots from outside the penalty area. 10 of Argentina's total attempts were forced completely wide of the central danger zones. Sure, Argentina had 59% possession and racked up nearly 700 passes, but they simply were not breaking Switzerland down through the middle. The Swiss center backs, Manuel Akanji and Nico Elvedi, were operating like an absolute brick wall, putting on a total clinic in positional defending and forcing Argentina into low-percentage, desperate strikes from distance. Honestly, even the victorious Argentine coach openly admitted that their dominant possession just wasn't enough to easily break down that resilient Swiss shape. Lionel Scaloni noted that it was super difficult for his team to string more than 5 or 6 passes together in dangerous areas. He literally said, "We suffered quite a lot." When a coach talks about suffering while holding nearly 60% of the ball, they're talking about immense psychological frustration. They had the ball, but every time they tried to turn towards goal, they hit a wall of red shirts. Switzerland had successfully made the game a physical, grinding battle on their own terms. So think about this number for a second. 40. That staggering number represents the amount of agonizing minutes Argentina still had to play against 10 men before they could finally break the deadlock in extra time. Even down a man, Switzerland held off the world champions for 40 minutes. It took Argentina nearly an entire half of football to find the back of the net against a completely depleted squad. Having a numerical advantage certainly gave Argentina territory, but it absolutely did not give them a free pass to the goal. Section 4. Finding the breakthrough. 3 distinct solutions. Because they couldn't simply pass their way through that crowded central corridor, Argentina was forced to find entirely different, creative ways to win. Rather than stubbornly trying to force positional play through the middle, Argentina essentially scored by going completely around the block. It's like, if the front door is locked, try the windows, right? They utilized the geometry of a perfectly placed corner kick from McAllister's header. They created a chaotic, broken play rebound that allowed Martinez to tap it in late. And of course, they relied on a spectacular distance strike. Argentina didn't just dismantle Switzerland's defensive block. They made the Swiss defend 3 completely different types of chaotic scenarios. Eventually, exhaustion set in, and the Swiss just literally ran out of answers. And then came the absolute crescendo of the night, Julian Alvarez's spectacular 112th-minute curler. It essentially answered the incredibly complex tactical puzzle that Switzerland had been throwing at his team for 2 hours. Receiving the ball well outside the box, legs heavy from extra time, he doesn't try to thread an impossible pass through a sea of Swiss defenders. He just unleashes a perfect, unstoppable shot that Gregor Kobel had absolutely zero chance of saving. It was a moment of raw, individual brilliance that totally shattered the Swiss resistance. Bringing it all together, this explainer shows us exactly why Switzerland fought so hard against the referee's authority in that moment. They didn't just challenge a random bad call, they challenged the intrusion of an obscure rulebook technicality into what was otherwise a tactical masterpiece. Switzerland played a nearly perfect defensive game, right up until the strict letter of the law intervened. Argentina, meanwhile, proved exactly why they wear the champion's badge. They suffered, they adapted, they changed their approach, and they found multiple different ways to win. So as you reflect on this incredible quarterfinal clash, ask yourself this. Is the strict pursuit of rulebook perfection truly worth the disruption to the sport's natural rhythm and emotion? Are we sacrificing the spontaneous, physical soul of the game for clinical, frame-by-frame accuracy? It's a massive question, and it's one that will dictate how we experience the football we love for years to come. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we continue to break down the tactics and controversies of the beautiful game.